Imagine having Christmas dinner with your family and everyone is having the most delicious chocolate ice cream cake. And when your grandma hands you your own plate, you say, no thanks, you walk to the freezer and you get out your own very special carnivore proof ice cream.
Carnivore ice cream needs only 2 ingredients and you don't even need an ice cream machine for it. It's completely guilt-free, bloat-free, and sugar-free. Add whatever you want to it. Recipe and caption.
Honestly, when I first saw this, I thought it was going to be ice cream made out of meat, which it isn't, it's just cream with egg yolks. But I still would prefer some kind of ice cream that has some kind of taste to it. Which kind of made me wonder if people eating this carnivore diet were actually enjoying eating it, and how it would be good for someone to eat a carnivore diet. So I needed to dive into that a little bit and talk to you about it. As a vegetarian art student, I first need to tell you how you can help me through art school. I would love it very much if you would subscribe to my channel and it would help me a lot. And you can also get one of these cuties in the link in the description. Now it's time to get started. First we need to know what people following this diet eat in a day.
So what I eat in a day as a high-fat carnivore to go from this to this to this.
The reason why I actually despise these what I eat in a day videos is that it's always about body image, even when they don't show off their body. And with this video, I kind of get the idea that this person is promoting that you would have to eat the same thing that she eats in a day to look how she looks, which is absolutely not true. All bodies are different and process food differently, and food is also not the only thing that decides how you look, you know?
I started my day off with a bowl of ground beef topped with raw cheese and some soft poached eggs poached in chicken bone broth.
I never make poached eggs, but I'm not sure if they're supposed to look like this. It doesn't look very appetizing, and the other videos about poached eggs I've seen on social media look very different and way more appetizing.
I now only drink coffee after eating a proper meal to not spike cortisol. This is La Colombe cold.
Coffee is plant-based.
Dinner was around 7 p.m. I grilled up some juicy steaks for me and Steak and Butter Guy, had some more raw cheese, enjoyed it all while watching the sunset. More details in the caption.
At least this creator also tells us in the caption of this video what her activity looks like, so that is something, I guess. Thinking about eating this amount of meat in a day kind of nauseates me, but that's just my feeling. However, I do think she's missing out on some important nutrients and fibers. Oh wait, she made a video about people telling her this already.
Carnivore diet is actually so dangerous for you. It's going to clog your arteries, give you heart attacks. If you don't eat fiber on a carnivore diet, it's definitely going to make you constipated for life. Fiber is obviously necessary. I get comments and DMs every single day from dietitians, nutritionists, people with master's degrees in health and nutrition and whatever you want to call it, telling me that my posts are a danger to society, that what I am posting and sharing about this carnivore lifestyle is misleading and harmful. The more people there are like that, the more beef there is for us. I'm gonna keep chomping on my soft-boiled eggs, sticks of cold butter, tenderloin steaks, and goat loins, and you can follow along to see if I will drop dead of a heart attack or eventually gain 100 pounds.
First of all, I absolutely love boiled eggs and I try to have one a day. She has like at least 10 of them on that plate. There is something as eating too much of something. My science teacher once told me that everything becomes poisonous as long as you eat or absorb, I guess, enough of it. Doesn't matter what it is, just some things are more poisonous than other things. I'm not sure if that's actually how it works. Well, I guess he was my science teacher, so I think it does work like that. I'm not sure about eating that amount of boiled eggs. That's a lot. Second of all, a few experiences is not even close to enough to disprove the wide variety of research that has been done on healthy nutrition. I took a quick look on Google Scholar and I couldn't find any articles actually promoting the carnivore diet as a healthy option. I do have to say that the research on the carnivore diet that has been done so far has been inconclusive. There's not a lot. And I saw one study that showed that people eating the carnivore diet for like a year showed kind of positive results, but this study has been done on a very small amount of people for a relatively short period of time, and it's far not enough to prove that the carnivore diet is actually a healthy thing. There are way more studies that show that a carnivore diet can have a very negative impact on your health. So one study is not enough to say it is. However, I'm of course not an expert, but I did want to tell you what I found about it. I guess these carnivore people don't really do that themselves. Unlike Bella here, I don't really understand why she's trying to convince people that this is a healthy option, because that it works for her apparently doesn't mean that it's gonna work for everyone, and the research is kind of against her, as we've seen.
How old were you when you figured out that like basically everything is poisoned, like the food, the water, the land, the oceans, everything, and that our society is basically ruled by these industries that are doing the poisoning and don't care how it affects our health, and it is destroying our health, and everyone's chronically ill and everyone's disconnected, and that our generation has to fix this, like, while we're also navigating the fallout from having been born into this situation.
This video seems to make clear why it would be good for people to eat the carnivore diet, allegedly, but it actually doesn't. She starts by saying that everything is poisoned by the industry. I know that people use pesticides on crops and vegetables, and I know that it's not really good for people and for the world most of the time. I at least assume that's what she means, because she's being so vague and does not provide us with any examples or sources on this, so I cannot even really tell what she means by this. The biggest problem that I have with her content is that she's being so extremely vague about it. Besides that, chemicals being used in the food industry is not something that only happens with plant-based foods and processed foods, it also happens within the meat industry. So by only eating animal-based foods, you don't escape that at all. I'm going to give you a small warning now. The next part is gonna be about disordered eating, and if that's not your jam right now, I would really advise you to skip forward to this time mark, where we won't be talking about that again. So please do that if you need that. It's very important to take care of yourself.
Yep, I was vegan for a long time, for 6 years. That was the reason why I was desperate to find that answer. And so that answer just so happened to be carnivore for me. And I see this a lot with people who do end up on carnivore voluntarily and they stay on carnivore. They are so sick and they are so desperate to heal. I was already there by the end of my 6 years of vegan, and I lost my period. I already had built some deep bad habits with eating and food. I was deeply, deeply addicted to food. I was binging. I was punishing myself by starving after my binges. And I was desperate to firstly heal my hormones and bring back my cycle, because I really want to have kids one day. And I know that you have to have a period to.
Here Bella describes that the reason for going from the vegan diet to a carnivore diet was disordered eating for her, and in my opinion not a lot has changed. Of course, I'm a complete outsider and I cannot be sure, but she has an entire page about food with a lot of what I eat in a day videos, and I would assume that she thinks more about food than I do in a day, which she tried to escape with doing this carnivore diet. And it really seems like she hasn't escaped that at all. Eating this diet also sounds very restrictive, so it doesn't seem like the obsession with food has gone away at all to me. Okay, that was a very serious note about how I cannot see this page as healthy at all, so now it's time to move on to the raw milk issue.
Not gonna kill you. Drink raw milk. Do you drink milk?
Yes.
Not only is raw unpasteurized milk so good for your health, all adults and kids should be eating more fatty meat and animal fats instead of refined sugars and processed carbs.
I feel like we know why we should not drink raw milk, but in very short, there are bacteria in milk that can make humans very sick, and pasteurizing milk makes the chances that these bacteria are still in the milk a whole lot smaller, so it's way safer to drink than raw milk, which is not safe to drink at all. Promoting drinking raw milk does not seem like a great plan at all, and not to mention that it's illegal to sell in a lot of places for human consumption.
Do you know about this raw dairy hack? It works in almost all states. It's easy to get raw dairy in California where it's legal. But in states where it is illegal, just look to the bottom shelf where they sell pet toppers to find the same raw dairy products. I've been drinking this every day for the past few months and I've never gotten sick.
Of course, Bella thought it was a great idea to show her 400,000 followers how to get something that's illegal to sell in the pet section of the grocery store. I think that's a great idea. That was sarcasm, of course. To me, it makes a lot of sense to not consume animal food. All we have seen so far falls in the category of things that you can do if you really want to and if you find that it helps you, but you should absolutely not try to convince the entire internet that it's a good idea to do so, because the research is very much against you. This, of course, goes way further with this creator than just food and drinks.
I've quit wearing sunscreen and no longer get sunburnt after cutting out all seed oils from my diet. I've replaced all my seed oils with animal fats exclusively, and after just 1 year, I noticed I no longer get my usual itchy rashes when I'm out in the sun. For once, I can easily produce a tan almost immediately. Now, I only wear a hat when outside for hours, and I completely skip the sunscreens. What about you?
I don't believe that consuming seed oils makes your skin absorb more toxic UV rays, because that's actually what she's saying here. Please wear sunscreen. The only reason to stop wearing sunscreen is if actual credible resources say that you should not do that anymore, which is far from the case. That wear sunscreen, please. We need to get back to the food on this page one more time. My main reason for not eating the carnivore diet is saying that humans have always eaten plants, so it's nice to maybe continue that. Of course, Bella also has an argument against that on her page.
Would you respond to the argument, but our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, and they ate berries, seeds, nuts, so we should be eating to some extent some of those foods now.
I think that's assuming a fact that's not in evidence. I mean, that's people saying, well, we see hunter-gatherer populations now, that must be how people ate previously, but that's not the case. You say hunter-gatherer, but it was really just hunter. The Australian Aboriginals, the Plains Indians, they would just eat meat. And this is why the American government wiped out the bison population, was because that's what they ate. And they were extremely healthy. The Plains Indians in America who were just eating bison, just carnivores, high-fat carnivores, were the tallest human beings alive on Earth. Now they're not.
Yeah.
You know, they stopped eating meat. As a result, they put on weight, lost health, and now they have a far higher chronic disease epidemic.
This video actually proves that there is misinformation on this page. I did a quick Google search and I found out that Aboriginals eat meat, insects, bread, vegetables, plants, seeds, nuts, everything you can think of, or everything that seems like normal human food. Asking native tribes is also not the way that we think that people in the hunter-gatherer times ate fruits and vegetables. We are kind of past the point where word of mouth is credible research, so that's not how we found out about that. We found out about that through archaeological research. Lastly, we need some holiday tips, of course, because it's that time of year.
Carnivores, the holidays are coming up, and I'm going to share with you my best tips to stay on track no matter what. The first one is make sure you have your fridge stocked full of all of your favorite meats, eggs, butters, cheeses, all of it. If you're like me, just a stick of cold, chilled butter will do the trick. Just take a bite out of that butter and feel yourself get satiated, nourished, and no longer craving for junk.
I'm not entirely sure because I haven't tried it, but eating a butter stick seems like another example of eating too much of the same thing, and it will make you feel satiated, probably, but I don't think it will be in a good way. I think it would make me very nauseated.
Best tip I can give you is to make sure you have delicious carnivore snacks on hand anywhere you go. My most favorite cuts are the chicken breast because it tastes the most like potato chips, and the brisket crisp. And my last tip is, let's say your family asks you something like, why the heck are you even carnivore? That's so dangerous. You can reply with something like, I have a blood test tomorrow, so I cannot be eating.
Lying to your family is of course a great idea, especially when they ask you something because they care about you. If you have to lie to your family about something, something is not going well and something should change. I don't think this is the way to go.
If you have cravings for sugary drinks or alcohol, make sure you have a fancy schmancy wine glass in your hand. You can just put some delicious chilled sparkling water. Drop a butter emoji down in the comments if you want to access my free archive of carnivore recipes.
Okay, the fancy glass advice is actually something I can get behind because fancy glasses are just very fun, but that's the only thing on this page I can agree on. I think I can safely say that I still don't really understand why people would eat this carnivore diet. There's a very tiny chance that this might actually be good for you, but most research actually shows that vegetables are generally healthy, so maybe we should just stick to that, or at least eat some of them if we can. I am not going to change to the carnivore diet. To each their own though. What actually disturbs me the most about this is that there's so much misinformation on this page and that this creator actually says so many unbiased things like they're facts. The best food advice I can give as a non-food expert, just like Bella, who is actually a pianist and not a nutritionist, if you have any questions about food and healthy diets, you can go talk to a nutritionist or a dietist. They have studied for this and they know a lot about it, and I can tell you from my own experience that it is actually very helpful if you needed to see one of them. They're very nice and helpful and they know a lot about it, which is great. Unlike all the internet people promoting unhealthy internet food things. If you like my video, please push that wonderful like button and I would appreciate it a lot if you would subscribe too. And then I hope to see you in my next video. Ciao!